On the 6th of January 1908, a group of school friends were playing by the reservoir at Kensington Gardens, when out of the blue, a stranger approached them and spent time with them to chat, play and laugh with the children. After some time, the man asked one of the girls if she wanted to come with him to buy some sweets, but she refused. The man then turned his attention to another girl in the group, Madge Kirby. Madge sent her 5-year-old brother home and unfortunately decided to go with the man and was never seen alive again. The school friends went home and told their parents, who then informed the Prescott Street Police Station. Madge Kirby was a 7-year-old daughter of a plumber, David Kirby, who was well respected in the area and lived at 55 Romilly Street, Kensington. Madge was one of several children in the household, both boys and girls, and sadly their mother had recently died from childbirth just 2 weeks previous to Madge's disappearance. Despite numerous searches from police headed by Detective Inspector Moore and helped by residents of the area, the search went from not only the local vicinity but all over the city, looking in derelict and empty houses as well as outbuildings, ash pits and parkland. But all to no avail. After some months, the searches become less frequent, and it was thought that the mystery would simply fade into the history of unsolved cases. However, on the 11th of August 1908, a full 7 months after the little girl's disappearance, the whole case was reopened with the ghastly discovery in front of an empty house on Great Newton Street. Labourer Thomas Moody was walking along the pavement when he discovered a sack lying between 17 and 19 Great Newton Street. Upon opening the sack, he found it to be the badly decomposed body of a girl. Police were called and were subsequently directed to number 15 Great Newton Street. Upon entering the property from the rear, which was in the process of being demolished, a dreadful smell was emanating from the kitchen area. As they entered the kitchen, they noticed the door to the cellar below had recently been ripped off its hinges. They made their way downstairs, and with lanterns lit, they discovered the outline of a child's body on the floor. With decomposed flesh and hair stuck to the stones, articles of clothing were scattered around the cellar, which was later identified as belonging to Madge by her father, David. The police deduced that Madge had been murdered at the house or in the near vicinity, and the body placed in the cellar. However, they also found that by some strange twist in events, and probably because the house was being demolished, that the murderer had returned to the scene, some hours before the finding of the sack, to bag the child and leave her on the pavement in front of the house, where she would be quickly found, as policemen had patrolled the street earlier that morning and noted nothing unusual. Statements from neighbours, whose houses backed onto number 15 Great Newton Street, said they had seen a man exiting the empty house from the rear, but could not identify him. Police had a number of letters in their possession, apparently from the murderer, giving clues to the whereabouts of the child. These letters were investigated at the time, but drew a blank. A letter to Detective Inspector Moore read, "Dear Sir, I should like to throw a little light on the murder of my victim, Madge Kirby. Some time ago, I was a lodger at 15 Great Newton Street, so I know the house thoroughly. I am still in possession of the key to the front door, which I used in those days. On the night of January the 6th at 8:45, I took the little girl through the front door, and it was quite dark. We had been to the World's Fair before then. That is the way I treated her, and then I did away with her. The way I killed her, you will no doubt find out today. At 5:35 on Tuesday morning last, I entered the house once more with my key, not with the intention of moving the body for good, but with the intention of letting the world know what become of the child. If I had not been drinking, I don't suppose I'd have attempted the task. It may lead to my arrest, and only drink I would have to thank for that. I am now going to give you a real clue to work on. I am a regular at the public house mentioned, the World's Fair. Since I have made this confession, I'll be obliged to say goodbye, so do your best. I am sure your manhunt will be in vain." End of letter. A subsequent chase through the city, watched by 2,000 onlookers of the suspected murderer, saw him slip into the crowds at Lime Street Station. The station was sealed, and a bloodhound named Tsar was brought up to search for the man. However, he could not be found, and a cry went up, "He's gone," but more sightings of the murderer were reported. A few months after Madge's body was found, David Kirby, the children's father, died. It was said in reports that he died of a broken heart. But whatever it was, the fate of the children, upon further research, has not been unearthed. In the latter part of the month that Madge's body was found, it was reported that an odd-looking man had passed by a house, removed his hat and saluted towards the door before writing in chalk the initials M.K. on the steps of the house. He then walked off. On the 29th of June 1909, the police charged Albert George Noakes with the murder of Madge Kirby, and residents identified him as the man who chalked the initials. However, when in front of the magistrates at a future hearing, the magistrate ruled that Noakes could not have murdered the girl, as his alibi was very strong, and he was subsequently released. The true murderer of Madge Kirby, to this day, has never been found. The Kirby grave and headstone can be found in Liverpool's Ford Cemetery, a little distance outside the city, towards Seaforth. Police investigations at the time also reopened an earlier child death in the city, the case of Elizabeth Pears, aged 10 years old. In the autumn of 1905, it has chilling similarities to the Madge Kirby murder.